Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. In today's video, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, as well as Harry Kane, Rasmus Hojlund, Mbappe, Amrabat, Suzuki, the preseason, and so much more. So let's get right into it. All right, so first and foremost, let's talk about the elephant in the room. That yours truly has partnered up with Manchester United to give away tickets to the Las Vegas game for United versus Dortmund. And obviously, this has ruffled some feathers. So I would just like to take this time to apologize for my support of the Glazers, not for the tickets, but I took my wife to Target the other day and she bought something from the Stony Clover collection, which is actually owned and run by one of the Glazer children, one of their Glazer family's children. So unfortunately, that makes me extremely pro-Glazer, and for that, I apologize. But for the tickets and for the giveaway and for all of that, actually very exciting. It's very cool. And yeah, I just want to basically say, look, to me and my perspective, something like this should be celebrated. For me, from here, where I am, just some guy in the United States who is able to build up, with the help of many others, a community that allowed us to connect with Manchester United itself to the level that we can actually partner to give away tickets to fans and be involved and have open dialogue with people at the club is something that is pretty incredible. And it's also something that in any other circumstance, it would be celebrated. But the reason it's not is pretty simply what I just mentioned. I'm just some guy in America. And that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. It's pretty obvious there. There is a feeling of, or a need for some fans to have superiority. A lot of foreign fans are looked down upon by certain people, including, of course, Americans, as well as many others. And that's fine. I don't care. But where's the line here in terms of what makes one pro-Glazer when they're backing the club? Which employees are you allowed to support? If I say John Murtaugh is doing a good job, how is that pro-Glazer? His name's John Murtaugh, not John Glazer. He was hired by Glazer. Guess who else was? Eric Ten Hag, who met Joel Glazer and who hired him and who was one of the key decision makers. Can you not support him? Where's the line on the staff that make you a pro-Glazer person or make you a backer of the Glazers to support or to say they're doing a good job? Because there's a lot of good people at Manchester United, and as many times as I've spoken out against how the Glazers have run their club and how the Glazers have run the club into the ground, they have also damaged and are hurting the people who work at the club, who are a victim of the circumstance as well, that are trying to do good things, much like the players, the coaches, the staff that support them, the analysts, the recruitment department. Yes, John Murtaugh. Yes, even Richard Arnold, maybe. But there are so many people involved who do good things and who are currently in limbo on their lives and on their situations because of the ongoing situation. They don't protect the Glazers. They're doing a job and someone has to do it. And many of them are doing it very well to the best of their abilities. When I praise the job that John Murtaugh is doing, it's actually a critique of the Glazers because what he is doing in this window is impressive because of how much he's held back by the issues of how the Glazers are running the club and how things are set up for people to fail at Manchester United due to the ownership and due to how it works and due to the things that are constantly not being done. So all of that being said, there's nothing wrong with it. And I won't apologize in the slightest for having a fantastic opportunity to help give away tickets to fans and have a partnership and have open dialogue with the club where I feel as though I am able to push, drive, and help create change as well. And I think you're seeing it. Over the last season, you have fan channels such as Stretford Paddock, the United Stand, United View, and many others, good people that many people on here like, many people watch, many people support, that all get press passes, that are able to be in interviews, that have much more involvement as fans in the club itself than was ever before allowed for years and years and years. And you know what? It doesn't make any of them a sellout. It doesn't make any of them pro-Glazer by being involved in it. It simply means that people are being given opportunities as fans and not as a part of just traditional media and the old school way of doing things, of being involved in United. And that goes for preseason and events as well. Andy Mitten is at the United Convention. He's doing events all around the United States with Wes Brown and Robson and people like that, sponsored by Manchester United. Is Andy Mitten a Glazer shill? Is Andy Mitten pro-Glazer? Has he been writing about it for 20 years? Stretford Paddock is there. You know them. A lot of people like them. Are they Glazer shills because they're at the United Convention sponsored by Manchester United? No, they're getting involved with the club and taking advantage of an opportunity that is present for all of us as fans to become more a part of the club. And you know what? None of it has anything to do with the Glazers. This is what we want. And the fact of the matter is the only people who criticize it are, one, jealous, and two, cannot understand why and how someone like me would be able to get access to these types of things, to these types of connections, and they have to figure it out and say, oh, it must be nepotism or some crap like that. It's the only justification, because they cannot consider that actually took a hell of a lot of hard work over the last now almost 4 years to create this community and build it up to what it is today. And I know there's a ton of people who support it and a ton of the people out here who are extremely happy about the fact of this occurring. And just in case you needed to know, I've never been paid by Manchester United, and the vast majority of my info, if not all of it, has nothing to do with coming from United. It's not how I got my sources. Let's take, for example, Alex Telles. I told you last week that Alex Telles' deal was basically collapsed. And then while I published that video, a briefing went out to the traditional journalists from Manchester United that the Telles deal was back on. Now, they never acknowledged that it was off. They never told me it was off. That's my information. They didn't want it out there. I'm not beholden to them. I put my information out, always. And I don't get all the briefs. I don't get all of that. I don't put out what they tell me to. I put out what I know, what I understand, and I will continue to do so. And I'll continue to be ahead of most of the people who are waiting for Manchester United to speak to get the information that they want and to write the articles that they have to have. And that's not a criticism of them, but that's just how traditional media works. So there's the elephant in the room and the rant on that. So let's move on to what really matters in terms of this summer and transfers and all of that. Harry Kane. So obviously yesterday there was some news that Joe Lewis told Daniel Levy that Harry Kane had to be sold or re-signed this summer, but one or the other and nothing in between. He would not be able to remain and run down his contract. Here's the weird part about this whole story. All went through Manchester United journalists. Every piece of it went through Manchester United journalists. It was all briefed by the Manchester United journalists, not by London-based ones and not by Spurs ones. So I reached out to my contacts, and immediately what I essentially found out was this. Manchester United not right now in for Kane, and they do not expect to be. Obviously, anybody would keep an eye on the situation, but they are not expecting to pursue Kane this summer. They made their checks early in summer. They weighed up an offer and they moved on. And the simple reason for it is, of course, a couple-fold. Number one, that they don't believe Daniel Levy will sell to Manchester United. And number two, that basically, they just don't see that they have the actual money for this yet. It's not an open checkbook. They'll still go with, things like FFP and all of that, but they do not feel that this deal is viable or available right now. So Manchester United not in for Harry Kane at the moment, not expecting to pursue him, not expecting to go for him, or Mbappe for that matter, but fully focused right now on a deal for Rasmus Hojlund. And the deal for Rasmus Hojlund, as revealed last week, United were in regular talks and expecting to make a bid early on in this week, and that is still expected to happen. As far as I understand it, talks continued for Rasmus Hojlund over the weekend, as well as at the end of last week, to via intermediaries, pretty much all of this via intermediaries and the agents, which are SEG, located in Amsterdam, the same agents of Erik ten Hag, that Rasmus Hojlund has signed on for this summer window to take part in. And they've moved forward on those talks. They're lining up that offer. They're not expected to match Atalanta's valuation. I definitely have been very much informed that they need Atalanta to move on this deal. It is not imminent. and we're going to see what happens. There's a lot of rumor that basically Atalanta would accept around 60 million euros plus 10 million in add-ons to be about at 70 million euros. United are not going to offer that up front. They're likely going to look for a more structured deal in the range of 45, 50 million plus add-ons to start. At times it gets a little confused on the pounds versus euros, but from what I understand, and there were talks just yesterday and potentially today, so obviously I don't know what the exact offer will be, but my understanding was that it was intended to be lower than that 60 plus 10 to start. Maybe more like 50 plus 10 or 50 plus 15 maybe to kind of balance it out. We'll see. I think a lot of the talks being done by intermediaries means that they're probably, going to want to put a bid in when it's very, very close to being all agreed and at a price point that they can understand and that they can go with. So that's the situation on Hojlund. He remains the number one target for Manchester United and very, very, very much wants and will wait for Manchester United. He's waiting for them to make an agreement. I put that out last week. That has been confirmed as well. But that is the case. He's waiting for an agreement to be reached because he wants to join Manchester United. And Erik ten Hag really, really admires him and thinks he will be a fantastic player, one for the future. Let's talk about preseason a little bit. One of the things that I think is really cool, the preseason game in New York against Arsenal was awesome. I think it was a really, really nice preseason game. Obviously, can't read too much into preseason, but I like watching individual performances. And one of the things that we've seen is Bruno has seemed to take up the mantle of captain quite well. He says he hasn't changed, but I saw a little bit of difference in certain qualities and characteristics on the field in terms of his personality on that as captain, and that's to be expected. It's a bigger load of responsibility. Not that he hasn't been captain at times, but as the official leader and all of that, I think there is a little bit more to it. That's not a bad change. It's a good change because players like him will strive and drive based on being given that bigger burden of responsibility, and he will shoulder it very well. I think Jadon Sancho has been very, very impressive, and the way that Ten Hag's been using him down the middle, obviously showing some tactical flexibility, but also just, I think he's sharp. He's fast, he's fit, he's in shape, his shooting was good. I thought he was very good in other games, just lacking the final ball. He constantly looks for a striker. I think you're going to see a lot of Sancho, Rashford, Antony for a bit. Antony needs to improve a bit, or we might see Rashford, Hojlund, and Sancho on the right for a while. Regardless, it's very good to see Sancho because if you get Hojlund in, then you have, if Sancho's on his game, then you have Hojlund, you have Rashford on a new contract, you have Antony, you have Sancho, you have Garnacho. You've got 5 really good talents in there, and that's good. Obviously, you'd like to see one more. Ahmad, of course, suffering an injury. It's going to be tough to see whether he's going to get much preseason to impress or see if he can stick around. So you could see that, another forward is probably needed in there to round this out. Obviously, Anthony Martial still on the books. But we'll see. They're going to evaluate, Pellistri, evaluate Ahmad, evaluate how that goes, and see what happens there. But Hojlund desperately needed, and likely a deal that does occur. They obviously do have alternates, but right now the focus is on Rasmus Hojlund. And, the Kolo Muani stunt one still doesn't make sense to me because he's more expensive. So I don't see if they can't afford him. I don't think he's better value at 100 million. I would still just keep an eye out, but yeah, this will be big. How these initial kind of talks go or the initial offer goes over the next few days is going to be very telling on this Hojlund deal. The other person who's obviously incredibly impressing is Kobbie Mainoo. Incredible player. He's done so well. He did so well against Arsenal. You can see what he's got, and you don't want to put too much pressure on him. But the fact of the matter is he does make Fred, Van de Beek, and Scott move him out, have Mainoo, Eriksen, and another signing. And that brings me to the last thing, because if you look at what United can look at doing with the surgence of Kobbie Mainoo, where you want him to get some minutes and you want him in there in that deep role and you want him to play, and you can tell he is going to make it in the future, and that's what Erik ten Hag has been wanting to test. You could get Amrabat. You could sell Scott. You could sell Fred. You could sell Van de Beek, and you could get Amrabat in. And then you have your Amrabat, Kobbie Mainoo, Eriksen, Casemiro, Mount, Bruno. You've got a really, really solid foundation there. A good mix of younger players, good mix of ages, good mix of veterans coming up here. And that is probably as good a midfield contingent as we've had in over a decade. So my hope is that they will do that, that they will pull that off. The interest in Amrabat is obviously real. They're going to look to sell and move on as many players as they can in order to be able to move for a deal like that to kind of round out summer after getting Rasmus Hojlund hopefully done. And then the obvious other player is Suzuki, needing a backup goalkeeper. He's a real target. There's other names being mentioned out there, someone from Turkey and all that. Real names, I'm sure. I just know the Suzuki interest is real. Tom Heaton, he's done really well, frankly, but he could go. Obviously, we're expecting Andre Onana to probably make his debut in the next game against Madrid in Houston. And yeah, Tom Heaton will likely want to go and continue on in his career and be able to be allowed to go. And so Suzuki would be a good player to bring in for that. So that's what I have for today. That's the focus. No Harry Kane. Yes, Hojlund. It's in progress. It's getting there. Kabi Mainu makes it even more viable to move on more midfielders and potentially bring in someone like Amrabat. And we'll see. There's going to be some more evaluations obviously done over preseason. You don't want to sell too much at the moment in case of injury, in case of things like that. You have to be a little bit careful through these early preseason games, but things are in the works there to raise funds. Let's see how this week goes because it's a big one for Hojlund, who really wants to join United. Last thing here, just while I was spending all that time ranting about all the criticisms of me, here's the other one. Dubai jail, another great rumor to go along with the James Glazer rumors. Dubai jail, there it is, exclusive imagery. Enjoy, enjoy. Very fun stuff. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for being a part of this community that has allowed these kind of opportunities to happen. Hopefully I meet some of you in Las Vegas prior to the game and during the game and all of that, and it'll be a great time. And make sure you do enter if you want to win tickets to that. And if you haven't and you're going to be in Vegas, buy tickets to the United Convention. Come see me on Sunday morning as well, alongside many, many other people that would be awesome to meet there too, that I'm sure you would enjoy. So thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. See you in the next video.